Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. Welcome to Human Resource Management or MGT 340, and as usual we are going to refer to the slide written by Prof. Maimunah Aminuddin, and today we're going to move to chapter 7, and this is about disciplinary system and termination of service. And I believe this is very important because when you are working in an organization, disciplinary problem is unavoidable, and human resource management should also be very responsible in actually deciding on fair disciplinary action on their employees. Let us look at what we are going to cover today. We are going to see today effective system for taking disciplinary action. We are also going to cover dealing with employees' problem and also types of termination. Okay, I hope you are going to follow me very closely today, because when you are working later in the human resource department, you might be facing a lot of problems that might be given to you by your employees. So let us look what do we mean by disciplinary system. A disciplinary system must be fair and just. So remember, you are very responsible and accountable with your action, and here is where you need to be very fair and just in whatever things you're going to do on your employees. In a fair disciplinary system, employees know the rules and know what they can do and what they cannot do. Meaning here, you have to eliminate or inform your employees regarding your disciplinary system. They should know the rules and regulation of the things they can do and cannot do in the organization. When employees behave in an unacceptable manner, they are punished. So this is where it is quite difficult for the human resource managers or those involved in the disciplinary system, that they actually have the responsibility of giving punishment to employees who do not behave in the acceptable manner. The purpose of punishment, you have to remember, is to change the employee's behavior. This is not to victimize or punish them for the sake of punishment. But when you punish your employee, your ultimate intention or your main aim is actually to do some correction on their behavior. We hope by giving the punishment, they might change their behavior, and also to send a warning to other employees that unacceptable behavior will not be tolerated. So this is where you need to be very assertive in taking action on your employees. What do we mean by penalties? When employees commit misconduct, they may be penalized. So this is where the consequences of actually behaving in an unacceptable manner. So this is where you have to penalize your worker. Penalties that may be imposed include, so we are going to look at the kind of penalties. Oral warning. So this is actually very important. You have to actually call your employees if they have committed any misconduct. The first thing is the oral warning. Call them and give them verbal warning on whatever they have done that is unacceptable by the organization. The next thing, if oral warning is not working, after you have called them and talked to them regarding their misconduct, you have to do the written warning. So the written warning is also very important. Sometimes you cannot just let your employee behave in any unacceptable manner. So this is where you have to issue written warning. Either it is the first warning or the final warning. Normally we are going to give a few warnings, first, second, and then if nothing changes in their behavior, you have to give them the final warning. So sometimes some employer might actually have forgotten this when their employee conducted a misbehavior or a misconduct. They straight away fire their employee. This is not right. Yeah? Okay. First give oral warning, then second you give them written warning. What else? If oral warning and written warning is not workable, then you have to take the third action, is suspension without pay. Okay. So this might actually threaten your employee to be aware of their misconduct, and we hope by the suspension they are going to improve in their conduct. If suspension without pay is not working, then you might also use demotion or downgrading. In this way, we are trying to tell the employee that they should improve their behavior, and the penalties of not committing good conduct will be demotion and downgrading. So this might actually help them to be aware and to be aware of what they are supposed to do, and they have to actually move on with a better conduct in the organization. And after all action being taken, and if they still pursue or continue with their misconduct, you can actually dismiss your employee. This is the final action that you can do with your employee. If all the above penalties is not workable with employees, you can actually dismiss the employee or fire your employee. Okay, none of these penalties should be applied until the manager is satisfied that the worker is guilty of misconduct. So this is not easy, because you have to do your a bit of your investigation, your probing, and you have to go through with to look at the case properly. If not, you might be unfair and just to your employees. So this is where the manager must be satisfied with the case, and if everything is very clear that that particular employee have committed misconduct, then you can actually use the penalties. If not, you are being unjust to your employee. Okay, the next issue that we are going to look here is we are going to look at dealing with employees' problem. So how do we deal? Very common and very popular among organizations is to use these, what we call here, this action is transfer. Transfer is one tool that is being used, very popularly used by the employee. So what is the meaning of transfer? Transfer is a lateral move of an employee from one job to another, or from one department to another, or from one site to another. And this is quite easy compared to other what we call here solution to solve a problem with the employee, because they might still working with your organization, but transfer is kind of warning to tell them they should change if they want to be in the organization for a longer time. So what are the reasons for employers to transfer employees? Actually, the genuine reason for using transfer as a solution is actually to fill vacancies for experienced workers. That actually is one way of using, reason for using transfers. The next one is to solve people problem. So maybe working in place A might not be suitable for you. You might improve your behavior, or your employees might improve their behavior if they are being transferred to another place, or place B. So maybe in B, they might be more comfortable, or they might, what we call here, face less conflict in that particular place. So they might solve their problem when they are when the employer move them to from A to B, for example. Okay. So we hope problem can be solved in a new place or in a new environment. So if you are not happy working in Shah Alam, they might move you to Puncak Alam. So if you are not happy in Puncak Alam, then you are going to go to places like very remote places like UiTM Jengke or UiTM Sabah and Sarawak. But we do not like people to simply use transfer because sometimes you might actually move a problem from place A to place B. So if the employee not change their behavior, they might actually bring together with their problem to another place and causing a new problem to the other places. Okay. Another reason for transfer is to provide training to employees. Sometimes the new working environment might actually give the workers that we have transferred new experience, and this is where they might actually receive, like very very informal kind of training in terms of the work they are doing. So this might also be another reason why we transfer employees. On the other hand, employees may also request transfers, okay? Maybe for personal reason or for non-work related reason. So maybe you will work or be happier to work in a place if you are nearer to your relative or to your spouse. This might also change your working style, maybe because you are closer to your spouse or to your relative or to your hometown, and it might be also one of the reasons why we actually practice transfers of employees. Employees also can request transfer to have an opportunity to learn. If let's say you are working in a very remote places which is very far from the learning center, by asking or requesting to be transferred in a place nearer to where to the places that you wanted to learn or to the learning center, this might actually help you to have better facilities and better what we call the opportunity to improve or develop yourself. Another reason, if you can actually discuss it, is actually to overcome boredom. Sometimes some places might be very routine because you are doing the same thing and you are meeting the same people, you are sitting at the same places, so you might be very bored with the situation, and by moving to a more challenging and more interesting place, you might actually see new things and see new people and maybe learn new things, and this is where you might stay longer in that particular organization. So we can look actually transfer from both aspects, from the employer's aspect or from the employee's aspect. Okay, what else about transfer? Transfer is a managerial prerogative. Employers have the right to transfer an employee, but the right is subject to any express clause in the contract of employment. So this is where we have to be very careful to transfer or to refuse transfer, because it is actually a managerial prerogative, and the clause in the contract of employment is a very important document to inform or to dictate that whether you can be transferred or not be transferred. Okay. The reason for the transfer must be a legitimate business reason. It cannot be something personal just because the employer do not like you or your boss do not like you, so you are supposed to move to another place. And if you are being transferred and if you feel that the transfer is unfair, you should see your boss and ask for an explanation whether the transfer is due to legitimate business reason. And as human resource manager, you must be very careful that if you do not actually transfer your employee due to this particular reason, just because of your personal dislike or liking of a certain person, you might actually be you might face some difficulties if your employee know they are right regarding the transfer. Okay. Okay, the reason for the transfer must not be for the purpose of harassing or victimizing the employer. And I hope you are going to be very careful about this. I'm going to repeat. The reason for the transfer must not be for the purpose of harassing or victimizing the employee. Some actually organizations tend to forget about the ultimate aim of transferring employees. And just because of a very vague reason and to penalize or to victimize the employee, they use transfer as a tool to tell the employee they don't like the employee. So be very careful about this. We hope that you will be again refer to the ultimate aim of your penalty, just and fair and just to the employee. Okay, what else should we know about transfer? The transfer must not be the detriment of the employee's term and condition of employment. This is also very important. It must not be the detriment of the employee's term and condition of employment. So look closely at the term and condition of the employment, whether anything regarding transfer is written in that document. So if not, you are actually victimizing or you are doing very unfair action to your employees. Okay, we are going to move to the next issue relating the penalties. We are going to look at promotion of employees. Okay. So what is promotion of employees? Promotion is a reassignment of an employee to a job at a higher level in the organization. This is actually another aspect when we look at misconduct and also disciplinary problem in the workplace, where we can use actually the tools here to communicate to the employee that promotion and demotion is one way of actually telling them whether they should improve their behavior in the workplace. Promotion opportunities motivate employees, providing the promotion system is perceived as being fair and transparent. So what is the other word for promotion? The other aspect of promotion, actually, the opposite of promotion is the demotion. So if actually we wanted to tell the employee that they should improve in their behavior, we might actually use demotion as a tools to tell them that they are actually doing something against the organization principle. Okay, but let me explain again here for regarding promotion. The criteria for promotion, seniority, length or service. So normally this is actually the case of why people are being promoted, because you work for a number of years in an organization, and if you fulfill that length of service, you might be promoted. Maybe because of merit or competence, you are very competent in your work and your employer like you, they might actually promote you to a new post or a new job. And we have to remember here, an effective performance appraisal system is required to identify which employees are suitable for promotion. We cannot simply promote people without looking at the performance appraisal. And we have to use the performance appraisal system to identify employees which actually deserve to be promoted. Okay, another topic that we should also look when we talk about chapter 7 is to look at grievance. What cause grievances? And we are going to refer to Gillespie 1981. One is why people are unhappy with the employee is broken promises. Okay, so you have promised them maybe promotion, or you might have promised them increment in salary, but certain benefit that you have promised during you offer the job to them and you do not fulfill, and this might be they might not be satisfied with what they are receiving at the moment, and this is where employee might actually give grievances to the company. Another reason why grievances happen is inequitable pay and benefit. So we have to look again here very closely at the pay and benefit, what we call the system that we have in the organization. As human resource manager, what you pay and what you give your employees should be equitable to what they actually perform in the workplace. So we are talking about inequitable. We don't say about equal pay. Inequitable meaning they should deserve what they should deserve. Okay. If let's say by doing a certain job, they should deserve certain amount of money, and it is fair to them to receive that amount of money, then they should deserve that amount of money. Okay, another reason about why grievances happen is personal and sexual harassment by co-workers and supervisors. And this is very common in places where if the human resource manager are not careful, we can see that certain co-workers or supervisors might take advantage of other employees in the workplace. And if actually the harassed party or the workers is being harassed by some of your employees is not satisfied with this situation, they might also actually cause grievances in the workplace. What else causes grievances? dangerous or uncomfortable working condition. So we have to remember that when the employees actually, when they come to work, they wanted the place to be secured, to be safe to their emotion and physical aspect. So if actually the working condition is dangerous or uncomfortable, they might actually also complain to the management. And if this happens, the human resource management have to investigate whether the grievances actually posed by the employees, can they actually overcome these grievances, okay? And finally here, when we talk about grievances, unjust disciplinary action by the supervisor might also be a very, what we call here, sometimes can be a very, very strong reason for why employee actually complain about the workplace. Yeah? So normally supervisors might not treat fair, might not give fair treatment to every employees. So certain employees might be penalized, and certain employees who do the misconduct might not be penalized, and this is where your employees might complain regarding this action. So we are going to look at how grievances is being handled in the workplace. We have a short break, and then we are going to continue with grievances handling and the effect of unresolved grievances. So again, I would like to remind all future human resource manager, you cannot let grievances to be happening in the workplace without being managed by the human resource management or the employers closely or carefully. We have to remember that if there are grievances happening, you have to investigate. You have to look into the root or the main cause of the grievances. So why? Because if you do not resolve your grievances, and we are talking about effect of unresolved grievances, your employees might resign, resignation of employees, and this is where you are going to lose sometimes very talented, very good employee, which is your capital, human capital. Many organizations lose employees because of unresolved grievances. Employees might not want to stay in a place where things are unfair and unjust. Okay, so we hope that we can overcome turnover by actually looking at grievances carefully and solve, if possible, the grievances posed by your employees. Also here, if you do not resolve grievances, your employees might be depressed. So depression among employees might actually affect productivity and quality of the work, and we have to make sure that employees are happy in the workplace in order for them to be productive and to perform, to give good performance. So depression is actually very popular in many organizations because of unresolved grievances. And again, just now we mentioned about quality and quantity of work, and these are actually related. When people are depressed, when people are not happy, they might not actually perform, and this is where the work might be, in terms of quality might be very poor, and also in terms of quantity they might not be very productive. And again, if the people are actually so engrossed and so sad about what is happening in the workplace, it might lead to high accident rate. This is actually something very unfair to your employee because of very occupied. Yet they are very occupied with the grievances, they might not work properly, and it might lead to accident. And also high rate of illnesses. When people are not happy, people are very stressful, they might be very demotivated and they might fall sick very easily. We also, and this relate back when your workers are not performing, they are not producing a good product and services, your customer might be the one to be what we call, your customer might not get good service and quality as well, and you might receive a lot of complaints from your customers regarding your product and your services. And also they might complain to Department of Labour and other bodies. Sometimes problem do not actually end at the end of in the workplace. Problem do not actually end there. When with the existence of the new technology, the Facebook, the Instagram, and the internet, people might actually post things like sexual harassment and problems of place to the internet, and it become viral, and this might give very bad reputation to your company. And also in many cases, if you look here, unresolved grievances might actually lead to aggressive unionism, and if many people are not happy, they might actually sit together and think about how to solve the problem, and this is where they might join the trade union and try to solve their problem using the union. We are talking about quantity of work and so poor quality of work, but also very important when we talk about unresolved grievances, it might lead to also reduce output. No matter how good your organization is, if people are not happy, if their grievances are not solved, they are going to actually affect your output. And again, if quantity is low, quality is low, output is low, definitely in terms of your ROI or your profit, it might also be low. So low profitability might actually happen in the organization or in your workplace, and this is actually something which we try to avoid. So I would also like to remind here all future human resource managers, do not sweep the problem under the carpet, or do not just give a blind eye or a deaf ear to the grievances happening in the workplace. Please be very sensitive about it and try to investigate and try to solve the problem, because that is actually the function of the human resource manager. Okay, we are going to look at the grievance procedures. A grievance procedure is a formal process for hearing and resolving employees' complaint. So this is very important. There should be a platform or an avenue for your employees to complain regarding their grievances. Okay. A grievance procedure will establish deadline for each stage at which a grievance is heard. So it cannot be, kept in the file forever. There should be a deadline for each stage and at which a grievance is heard. So you should actually receive complaint from employee, but then that would be other process followed after the complaint is being lodged to you. Grievances should be settled at the lowest level possible. So do not allow a molehill to be a mountain. This is very popular saying. Do not wait until things become worse, become very bad, and you cannot solve the problem. So, if possible, solve problem at the lowest level, and it would be very cheaper and easier for the organization to handle this. So this is where we would like actually the employer or the human resource manager to be have a very good listener. Be a very good listener. Allow your employee to have avenue or place to actually channel their grievances. Do not allow them to keep and to build the grievances inside their feelings, and then they are going to call other people to actually look at the grievances, and when things become worse, it is too difficult for you to handle the grievances. Okay? And this is not easy. Sometimes we say this is easier said than done, because handling grievances is actually one area where we should actually conduct training on this particular subject. So managers must be trained how to handle grievances, because grievances handling require, just now I mentioned, listening skill. The first very important skill is to listen to the grievances, to the complaint by the employees. So the employees might need to trust you. If not, they are not going to listen to you. And listening skill is a very what we call the important area, yet not acquired by many people. So so your managers need training on listening skill, understanding of rights of employees and employers. Sometimes you don't know the rights of the employees and the employers, and you might actually conduct something which is inappropriate to the grievances or the conflict that is happening in the workplace. So you might not handle the conflict properly. So understanding of the rights of employees and employees should also be part of the training when you talk about handling grievances. And also counseling skill, and this is actually a very difficult area where counseling skill is not something that comes naturally to the human resource manager. So they should be trained on how to use, what are the counseling skills, for example, for them to use in order to handle people who have grievances in the workplace. And we also need to look at problem solving skill as well. So if you look here, these 4 areas is very important for the managers to have, and the training might be quite tedious and meticulous. But however, if your managers do not have this skill, listening skill, counseling skill, and problem solving skill, how do you expect them to be able to actually solve the problem of the employees? Because when people come to the managers or to the employees to complain, they need to listen. And listening skill is actually a big area, and it can be something very difficult to come naturally to you. You have to be trained to listen. And the same thing when we talk about counseling and problem solving. It's not something something simple actually. For those who are taking a degree in human resource management, listening skill, counseling, and problem skill might be a 1 semester subject where you should go through like 56 hours of training to be able to be a good listener and to be a good counselor. So, and in many organizations, you need to have certain certification to be a good counselor, and definitely to practice what you have learned is also another thing that you have to consider. So we have been talking about grievances. We're going to move to the next topic, that is absenteeism, which is also very popular among the employees. And again, I would like to remind you that when we talk about absenteeism, we have to look at the root of the problem. What is absenteeism? Absenteeism is something to do with workers who are regularly absent from work without permission granted in advance, cause problem. So sometimes your employer might just be missing from the workplace without giving you prior notice, and this is and if actually this practice is very regular, then we can say that this is absenteeism. Okay. So how important is this problem? And what is actually the role of the employers? So, employers must have system in place to reduce unauthorized absenteeism or unauthorized absences. So it is not easy to actually monitor the presence of your employees in the workplace, because you cannot be there forever to look at their attendance or to look at their presence. And this is where a system must be there to monitor the presence of your employees, and also to reduce unauthorized absences. Okay. So things like keeping good records, very clear procedures regarding coming in and out of the premise of your work, and also the disciplinary action involved if necessary when absenteeism happens in the workplace. Okay, one way, positive way of trying to avoid absenteeism is to offer full attendance, to encourage full attendance by offering incentive. So this is where we could use what we call positive reinforcement in the workplace. Instead of punishing people for being absent, we might actually motivate them by offering incentive if they actually have full attendance in the workplace. But however, sometimes people tend to be people, and they might still be absent from going to work, and this is where the penalties would be practical or might be used if people are absent. Okay. Okay, when we talk about penalties for absent, employees may be punished for absent because absent without reason is actually a misconduct. Okay. Employees within the scope of the Employment Act or Sabah Sarawak Labour Ordinances mention that absence without leave for more than 2 consecutive days is a breach of contract for which the employee may be dismissed. So sometimes employees don't know about this, and they tend to what we call MIM, missing in action, for a few days, and they thought that the employees have no right to dismiss them. So there are many cases actually. Some employees are very ignorant about this act, and this is where the human resource manager have to actually place or put this in writing, where employees should know that if they are actually absent for more than 2 days without taking leave or without any valid reason, they might be dismissed from the workplace. Okay, it's a breach of contract. Okay. Prior to any dismissal, proper procedures must be followed. However, even though this is actually mentioned in the ordinance, but still you have to follow certain procedure to dismiss your employees. Do not simply dismiss without investigation, for example, without calling them and listening to their what we call their problem, or maybe sometimes we do not know what happened during the past or 3 days when they are not around actually in the workplace. Okay, we are also going to look now at the type of termination. We have here resignation, expiry of fixed term contract, retirement, retrenchment, and dismissal. So to look at the detail of these 5 type of termination, we are going to have a short break, and we are going to continue after this. We're going to continue on type of termination, and this is very important for human resource manager to look at the 5 different types of termination, because this would be some of the tools that you might use to actually handle problem that is regarding grievances in the workplace. So we are going to look at the first one. We are going to look at resignation. What is resignation? Employees have the right to resign without assigning any reason. So this is one thing that you have to remember. If they are not satisfied with the workplace, they might actually resign, and employees have the right to resign without assigning any reason. However, prior to resigning, an employee must give notice to the employer, as required by his contract of employment. Depending, they might actually give a 24 hours notice, or 1 notice, or a 3-month notice. So depending what is being written in the contract of employment. What about fixed term contract? Fixed term contract expire at the end of the agreed time period. Sometimes we have employees who do not understand that they have to be terminated at a certain term of contract. So this is where we need to be very careful when we actually employ people. They should understand that there are actually work that use this fixed term contract, and it expires at the end of the agreed time period. Maybe after 6 months or after 1 year. Lecturers, there are contract lecturers working in UiTM, and their teaching contract is like yearly. They have to renew the contract every year. Fixed term contracts are acceptable to the industrial court if they are genuine, if they are for genuine business reason. An employee on fixed term contract may file a claim under the Industrial Relations Act if his contract is not renewed. Okay. Also, we have to remember that when we talk about fixed term contract, the industrial court will not interfere with an employer decision not to renew a fixed term contract if the employer has an acceptable reason for the decision. And there were some cases, sometimes in a very popular organization, where the employees do not understand that the employer have the right not to renew their fixed term contract, and a lot of chaos and dissatisfaction actually happen when are being actually terminated at the end of the contract. So we are going also to look at retirement here. What should the retirement age be for employees? Long time ago, 55 is the retirement age, but now we have 55. Employee can retire at the age of 55, they can retire at the age of 58, and they can also retire at the age of 60. I have chosen to retire at the age of 60. So be very careful about that, because lately we have changed actually the age for compulsory retirement. How can an employer help employees prepare for retirement? This is another case when we talk about retirement. We have forgotten that retirement also need emotional and physical preparation, and this is where, if you are working UiTM, you are being sent for retirement planning courses 2 years before your retirement, because this will help you to actually handle retirement in a very stable emotional situation. Okay, so sometimes people are not ready for retirement and they do not do any retirement planning, and when they are retired, they become very emotional, they are very stressful and very depressed. So it is also good for the human resource management to actually arrange for a retirement planning program, maybe 1 or 2 years before the retirement, so that your employee will be ready for retirement. Okay. UiTM conducted 2 years before your retirement, and the retirement cost is like 4 days for future retirees. What about redundancy and retrenchment? Redundancy occurs when an employer has excess employees. So this is what we call, sometimes you are under load, you do not have any work to do in the workplace anymore, and your employer might actually not be very profitable in terms of their income, because many people are doing the same work for the employers also. So redundancy occurs when an employer has excess employees, and it might be caused by mergers and acquisitions sometimes. Okay, when company or what we call here organization merge, you might have people doing the same job at the same time. Okay, restructuring, financial problems, and maybe also change in technology. So sometimes technology take over things that can be done by 10 people, by a few people, and this is where people might not have any more responsibility regarding certain job, and because they can be replaced by the machine. Okay, redundancy, employees may be retrenched. So we have to remember that this is where it's very frightening for us now, because we are being replaced by machine, and because our workload are reducing, and this is where we have to remember, if this happen, we might be retrenched. So human resource managers should know this, because sometimes the employees do not know about retrenchment because of redundancy. Because of the negative consequences of employees and society of retrenchment, employees are expected to avoid retrenching employees as possible. So we hope that the human resource department or the managers should actually use retrenchment as the last resort. If you cannot do or you don't have any more solution to solve the problem of grievances, conflict, or something to regarding the profitability of your organization, then definitely you try to retrench people. But if possible, do not retrench because you are not making a lot of profit. try to avoid retrenching employees if possible. I'm going to stress over again this statement. Because of the negative consequences to employees and society of retrenchment, employees are expecting to avoid retrenching employees if possible. And at the moment, currently, we are facing very bad or very sad situation in terms of employment, and we have found that many organizations actually are now retrenching people because they are losing profit. But if you are there working with any of these organizations, try not to use retrenchment as your tool just because you do not make a lot of profit. So if you can survive and you can help people at the same time to have work and to actually earn some money for their families, please do so, because it is your social responsibility. To avoid retrenchment, employers could, so you might use some of these strategy to avoid retrenchment. Freeze external recruitment and redeploy employees into any vacancies which arise. So I have heard cases where employees, very sad stories of employees begging not to be retrenched, and because they have families to feed and they have children, they are schooling. So if we can do something with this, avoiding external recruitment, and now this is actually very what we call here, very rampant in Malaysia, where we are employing the foreign workers instead of the local employees, and try not to get people from other places to work in your organization. Conduct internal recruitment. And also, if you have any vacancies, try to, what we call here, redeploy your employees. Conduct a voluntary separation scheme. Okay, if you have to retrench, have VSS, voluntary separation scheme, and this is actually popular for the past 10 or 20 years in Malaysia, where people who actually work with bank, become bank merge, and we have acquisition, and a lot of things. We have one bank closed and another bank is being opened, and this is where we need to actually also make sure that the VS is being employed, cleverly employed in your organization. Reduce costs. Also, sometimes you are not making a lot of profit because maybe the cost of production is very high, and we can relook at the cost of production, and if we can reduce costs in the organization, and this can help us by not retrenching people in the workplace, why not we reduce costs instead of trying to retrench people to have extra profit in the organization. So I think you are doing a very good deed for the society. Also, reduce wages if employees agrees. So when we talk about retrenchment, you are talking about zero income for the employees. So this is where sometimes employees might actually agree if instead of being retrenched and they have to find for a new job, why not we try, if you couldn't pay them high wages, why not discuss on a lesser wage for that particular employees. So please remember, there are many other solutions instead of just retrenchment. However, if you have to retrench, you have to follow the procedures for retrenchment. So consult the trade union and inform the workforce. So do not simply retrench people without consulting the trade union and inform the workforce. Choose who to retrench. Definitely you have a lot of people in your organization, and among the so many employees that you have, there are many of them who deserve to stay in the organization. So you have to do your internal selection again and look carefully who actually should stay and who should actually be retrenched in your organization. Provide outplacement services. This is rarely done, because once they leave your organization, you always feel that you are not responsible to the employees anymore. So please provide outplacement services. Inform the labor department regarding your retrenchment practice, and also pay termination or retrenchment benefit. So this might lessen the burden and the emotional stress felt by the people that you have retrenched. So in an era where the economy is said to be not so very good, and we have many cases of retrenchment, I do hope that the human resource management people will be more careful when we talk about retrenchment. We are going to move to the next topic, that is dismissal for misconduct. Again, I would like to repeat here, misconduct is any behavior which is in conflict with the employer's interests. Employers have the right to punish an employee for misconduct. This the employees must know, because if you are practicing any misconduct in the workplace, and you have to know what is misconduct actually, what are the things that is related to misconduct, things like absenteeism, tardiness, sexual harassment, cheating organization. So actually, the employees have the right to punish you. Okay. Major misconduct may be punished by dismissal. Okay. So this is where the human resource people should be able to distinguish what is major misconduct and what is minor misconduct. Okay. So before dismissing an employee on ground of misconduct, an employer must carefully record any complaint of alleged wrongdoing. So the record keeping is very important. You will have to actually look into the complaint very carefully. Investigate the complaint thoroughly. So I repeat the word here. You have to investigate the complaint thoroughly. Charge the employee. And this is quite tedious. Hold a domestic inquiry. So if you decide to dismiss, you have to go through all this process. What about dismissal for poor performance? So besides misconduct, sometimes poor performance might be happening to your employees for many reasons. Demotivation, burnout, and so when we talk about dismissing employee on grounds of performance, an employer must warn the employee again, and the employee must be made known of the situation that they are actually under the category of poor performance, and we have to warn them that they are not actually performing according to the expectation of the employers. So please warn the employee regarding their performance. Assist him or her to improve his performance. So do not straight away dismiss them. Let them be aware of their performance and try to assist them to improve his or her performance. Give him adequate or give her adequate time to improve. So once they are aware and you have given their assistance, give them also time to improve their performance. And if all this thing is not working with the employee, then you might consider of dismissal for performance. Okay, we have a short break and we're going to continue with frustration of contract after this. We are going to look at another aspect of what we call here dismissal and also misconduct. That is frustration of contract. So what is meant by frustration of contract? Frustration of contract occurs when an employee is unable to perform the work for which he was employed because of reason beyond his control. Sometimes certain situation might lead to what we call here the inability of particular workers to perform the work. For example, detention by the authorities for a lengthy period of time. So you might not know that some employees might be detained by the authorities for many reasons. For example, And this is where, if this happen, a frustration of contract is said to be occur. Another very popular what we call here situation or example that might lead to frustration of contract is serious illness or medical incapacity. During recruitment, you might actually have a very healthy worker, but once they join the employment, they might actually face serious illness. They might get serious illness, and also they might be on medical leave for certain numbers of months or years, we don't know. So this is also another frustration contract. And the third example given here is actually withdrawal of license required for the job. So certain profession, employees might need certain license which actually is valid for certain amount of time only, and if the license is being withdrawn, they might not be able to do the job anymore. So this is also one example of frustration of contract. So very special case when we talk about dismissal and misconduct. We are going also to look at another concept very popular, not only during the final exam, but also when you are working later, you are going to look at also constructive dismissal. So we are going to look at the test for constructive dismissal. The employer must have breached the employee's contract of employment. Okay, the breach of contract must be a breach of a major or key element in the contract, and the employee must leave his employment in a timely manner. The employee must leave his employment as a result of the breach and not for any other reason. Okay, so this is another aspect where you should also look carefully when we talk about constructive dismissal. So I would like to repeat the four tests to see whether it is a constructive dismissal. One, the employer must have breached the employee's contract of employment. Okay. Then the breach of contract must be a breach of a major or key element in the contract. The employee must leave his employment in a timely manner, and the employee must leave his employment as a result of the breach and not for any other reason. So please look again at this area, because this is quite popular among the human resource people when we talk about misconduct and also dismissal. I would like to share with you all, because when we talk about dismissal, we tend to look at the negative aspect of the employees in their performance or in their action in the workplace. But there's a very positive way of the human resource people to look at and to try to have a very positive culture in the workplace. We are going to look at what shape ethical behavior at work, because when we talk about dismissal and misconduct, it is related to unethical behavior of your employees. So this is where we are going to look at what are actually the factors that influence ethical behavior, and maybe by looking at these factors, we might help to reduce misconduct, we might reduce grievances, and we might reduce what we mentioned earlier, dismissal and retrenchment of the employees. So there are about 5 factors, and this is taken from Dassler, our reference. There are 5 factors that actually shape ethical behavior of your employees, and sometimes even the employee in the place. One is the individual factors, the employees themselves. The next one is organizational factors, the work environment. The boss influence, the employees plays a very big role in the organization. Ethics, policies and codes, and also very important, the organization's culture. So these are actually the 5 factors that we should look at and try to relate this with the performance of the employees, and where possible try to improve or try to enhance the factors that can shape the ethical behavior. So we have to remember employees and the ethical dilemma. Always the employees have to ask this question when they are faced with ethical dilemma. Is the action legal? So help them to explore this. Is the action legal? Is it right? Who will be affected? Does it fit the company values? How will it feel afterward? How will it look in the newspaper? Will it reflect poorly on the company? Because as human resource manager, you cannot simply, what we call here, pose this dilemma, for example, the dilemma of being retrenched and dismissed on your employees. So please go through all these questions and see whether it has some significance to you and also to your organization. So I would like to repeat, is the action legal? If it is not legal, then we have to go and investigate. Is it right? If you have the doubt, then you have to investigate. Who will be affected? Very important, because if you dismiss, it's not the employee alone, the families, the children, and again remember things like the reputation of your company, how people look at your company. You might be very popular with turnover and retrenchment of the employees, and in the long run people will not like to work, and this will affect the sustainability of your company. So I would also like to share with you something related to organizational culture and a bit of understanding of the organizational culture, where will help us to be more, what we call here, more ethical in the workplace. So organizational culture is actually the characteristic values, tradition and behaviors a company's employees share. How is culture is revealed? So this is where when we talk about culture, it relates to the ceremonial event, written rules and spoken command, office layout, organization structure, dress code, cultural symbol and behavior. So maybe by looking a bit on the organizational culture, you might be able to understand the employees, and the employees might be able to understand the organization better. But what is important here is to look at the role of the managers in creating the culture. The organizational culture is very important to have ethical and well-behaved employees. So, but the manager play a very important role in creating the culture. So it is important that the expectation of the employer or the manager is being portrayed or clarified to the employees. What are the expectation for values to be followed, for example? And things should be visually seen, should be physically seen as possible, should be tangible if possible. Use sign and symbol to signal the importance of values. So this is where your gallery and your posters might help your employees to understand your sign and symbol that is related to the importance of values. Provide physical support for values. For example, the firm's reward. Use stories to illustrate values. Organize rites and ceremonies reinforcing values. This is where you are going to have your award, and even a very simple award to recognize or to appreciate the performance of the employee will help them to love the right culture that you are going to practice in your company. And beside the manager's role, it is important for us to also to look at the role of the HR when we talk about fostering ethics and fair treatment. So please look again at the question of why we have to treat employees fairly. So before we even think of dismissing and retrenching our employees, please ask this question. According to Peter Drucker, for example, they are not employees, they are people. People have feeling and heart. And try to be empathic. Try to be in the situation of the employees. What happens if you are being sexually harassed? What happens if you are being dismissed? what being happen if you are not fairly treated. And definitely, if you could empathize the employees, you might be more careful with your dismissal and retrenchment plan. Avoidance of employees litigation, enhance employees commitment. This is your role, as future human resource manager. Please remember that you need to enhance the employee commitment. Commitment do not come naturally. It comes with what is being practiced in the organization by the employer and also by the human resource department. Enhance satisfaction with the organization, job satisfaction, happiness, and please always remember that when people are happy, they will work better and perform better. And this is where sometimes people tend to treat employees as the robot of production, and as human resource management, the word human resource signifies the importance of people, and you have to be very careful with the feelings and the happiness of the people, because I think this is where the intangible part of human resource management should be emphasized. Increase OCB, or organizational citizenship behavior. So that would be actually something more relevant to the human resource. We are talking about organizational behavior, and if we have the OCB in the organization, people will actually improve in their job satisfaction and will perform better. So maybe a look at HR ethics activities might help us to be more careful with our retrenchment and dismissal plan. Staffing and selection, fostering the perception of fairness in the process of recruitment and hiring of people. This is very important. Formal procedure, interpersonal treatment, providing explanation. Sometimes we dismiss without explanation, and we break many hearts in the organization. And please also look beyond the retrenchment practice. Okay, training is a very good way of to recognize ethical dilemmas. Sometimes we fail to actually see the root of the problem. Why people are unethical? Why do people actually complain about whatever they are doing in the organization? The use of ethical framework, maybe by provide training of how to use ethical framework such as codes of conduct to resolve a problem. And also, when we talk about HR activity, we talk about performance appraisal, very popular practice in the workplace, where that you do every year. You are doing your performance appraisal. Please take performance appraisal seriously. Do not take for granted that appraisal is just to be there in the organization for you to. It's a routine, yearly routine of asking your employee to fill in form and submitting form. So when we talk about appraisal, make sure the appraisal is clear. Appraisal make it clear the company adheres to high ethical standard by measuring and rewarding employees who follow those standards. So many people are being very sad with the result of the performance appraisal, because many do not understand the meaning of fairness and just practice in the workplace. So make sure they are going to be maybe you cannot satisfy people, but make sure they understand why they receive certain result based on the performance that you have actually conducted. Reward and disciplinary system. Also, again, I would like to repeat this. The organization swiftly and harshly punish unethical conduct. So do not allow what we call here deviant behavior to be there in the organization. You should do something. Workplace aggression and violence, taking care that HR action do not foster perception of inequalities that translate into dysfunctional behavior we are talking about HR ethic activities. Some of the things that you have done previously in your company is very important. Things like the performance appraisal. So take it very seriously that do not conduct it for the sake of your yearly routine. And remember that the appraisal is very meaningful to your employee. Employee might be happy or sad about your appraisal result at the end of the year. So appraisals that make it clear the company adheres to high ethical standard by measuring and rewarding employees who follow those standards. That is very important. And also look again at the reward and disciplinary system. Organization should swiftly and harshly punish unethical conduct. If not, your reputation as an assertive and also fair employer might be tarnished. So employees should actually, the good employees might be very frustrated with your what we call your practice if you do not actually punish unethical conduct. Workplace aggression and violence, and remember, in some places these do happen. So taking care that HR action do not foster perception of inequalities that translate into dysfunctional behaviors by employees. Also, we're very careful about this. So we are going to just move on to the next part of how to actually avoid retrenchment and dismissal, okay, or to get very negative reputation regarding our handling of the grievances. So building two-way communication is very important. Perception of fair treatment depend on one, engagement, involving individuals in decisions that affect them by asking for their input and allowing them to refute the merits of others' ideas and assumptions. So beside engagement, we have explanation, ensuring that everyone involved and affected understand why final decisions are made and the thinking that underlies the decision. And lastly, expectation clarity, making sure everyone knows up front by what standard they will be judged and the penalties for failure. So if you look at these three areas, engagement, explanation and expectation clarity, you might actually allow people to perceive the what we call a much fair treatment of the way of you handling the grievances. So we are going to continue after this on employee discipline and privacy, and also to look at the last part of the topic and on how to discipline an employee. So we have a short break, and we are going to look again and finally end the chapter on this topic. Okay. Let us look at the last part of the topic. We are going to look at employee discipline and privacy. Basis for a fair and just discipline process. First, clear rules and regulation. We should define workplace issues and also inform employees regarding the practice. A system of progressive penalties. The range and severity of the penalty is a function of the offense and number of occurrences. So you have to remember that. And also an appeal process. The right of the employee to grieve the decision help to ensure that supervisor mete out discipline fairly and equitably. Okay. So I hope as human resource manager, you're going to look at this, because these are the basis for a fair and just discipline process. And finally, we are going to look at how to discipline an employee, because you are equally responsible for the good action and the misconduct of the employee. Actually, as human resource manager, you are there not just to actually penalize people, you are there to educate your employees. So let us look at a few questions that might help us to discipline the employee in the workplace. The first one is the question of, does the fact support the charge of employee wrongdoing? So you have to remember this. Does the facts support the charge of employee wrongdoing? If it does not support the employee wrongdoing, then you have to relook at the facts that you have actually. Were the employee's due process right protected? So also another question that you have to ask yourself very carefully. Was the employee warned of disciplinary consequences? If they are not being warned and you actually implement disciplinary action, so you actually are involving in unfair and unjust treatment of the employee. Was a rule violated, and was it reasonably related to the efficient and safe operation of the work environment? So this is another question that you have to remember. If it does not violate what we call the safe operation of the work environment, then you have to reconsider your action on retrenchment or dismissal, or any what we call here penalties for misconduct. Was the matter fairly and adequately investigated before administering discipline? So again here, this is on your task of investigating things fairly and adequately. Did the investigation produce substantial evidence of misconduct? So again, if you have investigated and you do not have any evidence of misconduct, then do not go on with your penalty and your disciplinary action. Okay? Have rules, orders, or penalties been applied even-handedly? So this is another what we call here area that you should ask yourself very carefully before you are going to talk about penalties, and also any misconduct consequences of your action. Okay? Is the penalty reasonably related to the misconduct and to the employee's past work history? So this is another question that you should also relate. Sometimes you tend to have a perception or a stereotyping or halo effect of the employees, and this might be very biased to your employees. Okay? Did the employee have the right to counsel? So again here, counseling is another area that you should look at, and if you feel that the employee have the right to counsel, then the counseling session should be provided to the employee. And finally, did anger, hearsay, or personal impression affect the decision? Sometimes as human, when you are angry, when you have something very personal regarding an employee, you might actually conduct something very unjust, very unfair to your employee. So it is not easy to be a human resource manager, because this involves actually something very emotional on the part of the party involved in actually disciplining the employee. So be very careful with whatever action you are going to take, because your action actually does not only end with a piece of letter saying that the employee is being retrenched or being dismissed, because it's more than just that piece of letter. It involves actually people that is related to the employees that you're going to retrench. It involves the reputation of your company. It involves the future of your business. With that, I end the lecture on this topic 7, and I hope you are going to read your basic text as your reference to see and to look at more example of the practice, so that you are going to be a better and a more what we call fair human resource manager. Thank you. I will see you again in the next lecture on chapter 8. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.